Hello everyone. So last day we have discussed Newton's second law of motion, which derives from the rate of change of momentum, and from the Newton's second law we come to the formula of force, which is equal to mass into the acceleration which is caused by this force. This force is the force with the external unbalanced force, which is able to cause some change in the state of motion of the object. Okay, so this is the formula for the force. Force is always equal to mass into acceleration caused by the force. Let us proceed further, extend our discussion to little more new concept. So okay, so this is what just we have discussed. There is a simple problem. You can think about it. How much force is needed to accelerate a 1400 kilogram car 2 meter per second square, right? So there is a car which weighs 1400 kilogram, and the car has to be accelerated by 2 meter per second square. It is written as meter per second. So that means meter per second square. So this is acceleration, right? So if we have to accelerate a car by this much amount, what amount of force we require? So we can, because it is talking about the acceleration in the some object, so we can calculate the force by using this formula, F is equal to m into a. So it is known that F is equal to m into a. Here force we have to calculate, mass is given, and acceleration it is also given, which is required to be done. So when we substitute the values, m into a comes out to be 2800 kilogram meter per second square. This unit of force, kilogram meter per second square, it is also written as Newton. So that's why we are writing it 2800 Newton in SI system. Okay, let us move to the next point. It is Newton's second law of motion, according to which we can understand that how different masses accelerate to earth at the same rate but with different forces. So each and every object experience the force due to gravitational pull of the earth according to their masses, right? But they accelerate with the same rate, means they have the same acceleration, which is called as the acceleration due to gravity. You can take the different examples. We are taking the same formula, acceleration it is equal to force per unit mass. So if mass is more, force will also be more, so that acceleration it always remain same for the gravitational pull of the earth. And similarly in other case, whenever mass is less, that means force on this gravitational force on this mass will also be less, so that the value of acceleration again remains the same, which is 9.8 meter per second square. This is the acceleration which is caused by the gravitational pull of the earth. So this is how we understand it from the Newton's second law of motion. Okay. Okay, now we come to understand another very important term, which is called as impulse. So what is impulse? Impulse, it gives the measure of action of a force during the given time interval. So force which is applied, it acts on an object for certain time, howsoever small or large it may be. So during that time for which the force has acted, for during that time interval, the force has caused some we can say impact or change in the state in the state of motion or rest of the objects. So in order to measure how much change is caused by the force or what impact of the force is caused, we define a term, this is called as impulse. So impulse gives the measurement of the action, or we can say impact of a force during the time interval it acts. It is then also called as impulsive force. So how do we calculate or define or measure impulse? It is defined as the product of the average force. You must understand that whenever a force is applied on the object, it may not be a force which is constant throughout the time interval. Initially it may be more, and at other point of time it may be less during the same time interval. Suppose that force is acted upon between 1 second to 3 seconds, but the force may not be constant during all the time interval from 1 second to 3 seconds. It may have one value during one fraction of this time between 1 second to 3 seconds, and it may have other value between the same time interval. So, that means force may not be constant. So, that is why we are taking it the average force. So, here in order to calculate the impulse, we take that the force is acted at the same rate. So, this is why we are taking about this average force. You can simply call it to be the force. It will mean the force is acted at constant rate for the whole the time interval. So, impulse is defined as the product of the average force and the time for which the force acts on the body. It is on the body. You can make this correction. Okay, so on the body. So, therefore, from here we can write the formula for the impulse as impulse is equal to force multiplied by the time. So, this remains the formula for the impulse. In many books, the symbol for impulse is taken as I, or in other books, the symbol for impulse is taken as J, capital J. And from here we can also define the unit of the impulse, and which are in terms of force into time. So, force has the unit of Newton and time has the unit second. So, it is the Newton second. So, this is the picture which you can understand. Here is an object which is acted upon by some force. This force is acting for some time t, just like the driver applies some brake for some time, right. So, what impact that force, braking force, has caused during that time interval, this is called as impulse. So, how much impulse a force can give? It is simply the measure of the action, or we can say impact of the force. And from here we can also write the dimensional formula for the impulse, which is the dimension for the force multiplied by the dimensions of the time. Force has the dimension ml t minus 2. Very same formula as we have discussed here. Force is equal to mass into acceleration. From here you can write the formula for the force. It will be mass m multiplied by the dimensions for the acceleration, which is L t minus 2. So, the dimensions for the force are, let me just write it as, it is m L t t minus 2. So, t has minus 2, you must understand this. Okay, just give me a sec. Okay, so it is minus 2 t. So, ml2 t minus 2. So, these are the dimensions for the force. Okay. So, we are using the same we can say for dimensions for the force ml t minus 2, and here the dimensions for time. Whenever we adjust these parameters, similar parameters, time with time, so it becomes ml t minus 1. So, this is the dimensions for the impulse. You can observe that this dimension is same as the dimension of the momentum. If you calculate the or find the dimensions of the momentum, or check the dimension of momentum, you will find that the dimension of momentum is same as that of the impulse. So, that means both impulse and momentum are having the same dimensions. From here you can draw the conclusion that in case of motion, the impulse and momentum are somewhat related. So, we can also find out the relationship between the impulse and the momentum, just as we have done here. According to Newton's second law of motion, force is nothing but the rate of change of momentum, right. So, you can write it F is equal to delta P upon delta T, or you can also write it to be dP upon dt. So, we are taking this first representation. From here we can take delta t, the time interval, to the left hand side. So, it becomes F into delta t, this is equal to delta P. So, this F into delta t, if you try to understand this is nothing but the force, and it has acted for some time interval delta t. So, force into time interval, this is nothing but the impulse. So, on the left hand side it is the impulse, and on the right hand side it is the change in momentum. So, that means impulse is measured in terms of the change in momentum. So, impulse it is always equal to change in momentum, final momentum minus initial momentum, because in case of impulse, whenever force acts for certain time interval, certain time, it causes the change in the momentum of the object. So, in that sense we define the impulse in terms of change in momentum. So, this is the relationship between impulse and the momentum. So, impulse it is always equal to change in momentum. Okay. Let us step forward. Here it is a simple question, but you can just ignore it for the point. So, now we come to the third law given by the Newton regarding the motions of the objects. This is very popular law. It is also called as the action reaction law, or it is also called as the law of interaction, as we have discussed in initial class. Okay, so what this third law of Newton says about the motion of an object? It says that for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. Now, what are these action and reaction? Actually, these are nothing but the forces, right? Action is the force, reaction is the force in response to the action force. Suppose that one object is applying the force on the other object, or for example, how this force can be applied? It can be applied in any number of ways. For example, a book is placed on the table, or a person sitting on the chair, right? Any object is placed on the surface. So, you can take any of the examples. Suppose that person is sitting on a chair. We are taking this case. So, if a person is sitting on the chair, so it means the person is applying the force on the chair, right, equal to its weight. Of course, the person is applying a force which is equal to its weight, his or her weight on the chair. So, this is the force applied by the person on the chair. So, this force is called as the action force, right? And then the chair, but chair don't move along that direction. Why? Chair also apply an equal and opposite force in on the person. So, that force applied by the chair of equal amount and in opposite direction on the person, it is called as the reaction force, right. So, this is what we understand from the Newton's third law. So, it simply says that for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction force. Suppose that one person is trying to pull a car, then the car is also applying an equal amount of the force on the person in opposite direction. So, there can be any number of examples. Rocket propulsion, whenever rocket is launched by the scientist, it also works on the third law, Newton's third law of motion, because the gases are thrown by that rocket by burning the fuel. The gases are thrown in downward direction with very high speed. So, in reaction to that, the gases also exert the force on the rocket, due to which an uplift is created and the rocket starts moving in upward direction. There are a lot of examples just like this. A walking person walks again on this action of the Newton's third law of motion. Whenever a person walks, the person pushes the surface in backward direction, and in reaction to that, the surface also exerts a equal amount of force in forward direction. So, that is the clear example of Newton's third law of motion. And the final thing, here are the different situations you can think about. Okay. So, you can think about the various situations where Newton's third law of motion acts. In all these situations, one thing to understand is that these action and reaction forces are acting on different objects. They are not acting on the same objects. These equal and opposite forces are not acting on the same object, hence they are not cancelling the effect of each other. So, there is a possible motion between any of the two objects. However, that motion depends upon the inertia of the individual object. Okay. So, this is all about this chapter on Newton's laws of motion and the force. One last thing you can understand is the law of conservation of momentum. So, what is law of conservation of momentum? You already have discussed about this. So, law of conservation of momentum, there are different examples where action and reaction forces act, and during the same situations, I want to make this mention this, that during all these situations where Newton's third law of motion can act, the law of conservation of momentum always acts. So, what this law of conservation of law of conservation of momentum says, not angular momentum, just momentum. So, it simply says that during any event, for example, firing a gun, whenever a person jumps from the boat to the surface, just like that, as in this case, right. In each and every case, rocket propulsion, the total momentum, total means the sum of all the momentum, it always remain conserved, constant. It does not change. Momentum before the event and momentum after the event, it always remain same. For example, the bullet which is fired from the gun, before firing the bullet, the total momentum of the gun and the bullet, these are the two things here involved, it is 0. So, after firing, the momentum will always will again be 0, means it will be same before and after firing. Similarly, the total momentum before the person jumps off the boat, it will be same as the momentum whenever the person jumps on the surface, right, jumps off the boat. So, this is what we understand from the law of conservation of momentum. So, total momentum, we are talking about the total momentum. Individual momentum can change, but total momentum of all the objects involved in the event, it will be constant. So, I hope this will be helpful. That is all for today's class. Thank you.